What's the funniest thing that's happened to you during X? This girl was going down on me for a bit, and after she gets tired she comes to give me a kiss. I whisper to her, now it's my turn. And she looks at me with the most confused look of disgust and says, what? You're gonna suck your own stick? It was a lovely summer evening and my parents were out shopping. After calculating the time I have left, I invited my girlfriend over. We were 16 at that time. After we started having X on the couch, my parents suddenly came back, and my naked GF jumped out of the window, straight to the garden. I couldn't find a reasonable explanation for why am I naked. The window is open and plants which were on the windowsill are now on the floor. I've never been that embarrassed in my life. Turns out the headboard was exactly the right height to sit on for a BJ. Turns out the headboard wasn't strong enough to hold his weight. One time I thought I had closed the door, but my dog is smart AF and got it open, trotted up to the bed, and gave my boyfriend's foot a quick lick. He was so startled he yelled WTFY, and the dog, feeling guilty, came to where I was laying and tried to get forgiveness pets by shoving at my arm. I was wheezing from laughter. Either first or second time I had X with my ex. We'd literally just finished. As in I hadn't even pulled out of her yet and her mum walks in. We both freeze and I didn't look because her mum was a bit fierce and all I hear is, oh, I thought you were just friends, and then the door close again. My ex bursts out laughing, and about 5 minutes later I hear her mum on the phone telling her sister. My chest and hers came together in exactly the right way to form a vacuum. When we changed position, there was this cartoon like schmack when we pulled apart. It killed the mood and we both broke down in fits of giggles. As I was going down on my wife, the cat decided it would be a good time to climb and sit on top of my head. I tried to ignore it, but when she looked down she started laughing so hard that it killed the mood for the rest of the night. Ripped a fart accidentally when I came on her tits. Her face went from pleasure to just a dead stare while holding her tits. We were doing the deed and the guy felt a fart coming. To his credit he warned me and tried to cover the noise by singing in a high-pitched voice. For a solid 10 seconds he was farting machine gun style while yodeling loudly. Still not the worst ex I've had. I had gone over to this guy's house wearing my new Vans shoes. I was in high school, so these $50 shoes were my Sunday's best. We went upstairs and started going at it. He was behind me, and I was facing the window to the backyard. Like 5 minutes in I see his dog run into the backyard and tear one of my new shoes apart all over the grass. I thought it was so funny I couldn't even be upset. I miss that dog. I was with a girl who liked to wrestle a bit and be held down. Except she was a dancer with incredibly powerful legs and I underestimated her. And she accidentally kicked me in the chest and broke one of my ribs. I was going down on my GF in high school. I was kneeling next to the bed with her legs hanging off the end. I was fully erect and my cat came from under the bed and licked the tip of my penis. Scared the crap out of me. If you have ever felt a cat's tongue you'll know how horribly uncomfortable that felt on the tip of my member. Funny story. We decided that it would be a good idea to try something new. Dating for nearly 2 years at this point. And went to have X in the shower. Foreplay happened. The shower was on. To add to the disaster, I knocked my shampoo by accident. But we shrugged it off. Last thing I knew, he slipped on the shampoo and we both went down. He cracked his pelvis. Nothing too dangerous, so he was fine after some months. And I had a cut on my lip, because I bit it by accident when we fell. We are not dating anymore. But we are still friends. And we still laugh about it. My girlfriend was on top until her Fitbit starts going off. She looks at it and throws her hands up and says, yes, I met my steps goal. I used to have a cat named Voltaire. His nickname was Felis Interruptus. He would climb on my now ex-husband's back when he was on top. This is with my current so. A few months ago we were getting hot and heavy and his absolute best friend called in the middle of it. Without missing a beat my boo answered the call. Still thrusting. His friend was inviting us both out to go eat brunch. Watching this man just smiling down at me trying his absolute best not to make it sound like he's having X, while still very much having it, and talking about his favorite food made me laugh my ass off. Needless to say we never finished, but duck it made my day. Boyfriend was going down on me. He started doing a Cookie Monster impression while he was down there. Made me laugh so hard I let out a little fart right on his face. One of the very first times I ever had X. I looked out my window to see my neighbor having X with his girlfriend. He noticed me and nodded was at mid-stroke. Later found out that the girl he was having X with at that moment was my neighbor from the house that I had just moved away from like 6 months prior. My new neighbor was ducking my old neighbor, and I saw them while having X with my girlfriend. She passed out while on top of me right before I had to leave, so I couldn't get up. And that was the first time I've ever used a sick day at work. A cop knocked on the window of the car we were in. He seemed more embarrassed than us. Turns out he'd been dating the girl I was with. Very awkward to say the least. I felt kinda crappy about that. Probably when I lost my virginity. Accidentally poked her in the butthole from behind, and she turned around, stuck a finger in my face, and sternly said no. I laughed and told her it was an accident, and we proceeded from there. Also that one time my roommate carded my locked bedroom door during a party. I was balls deep in my FWB doggy style and another friend was standing next to him. Slammed the door shut. And then I heard him scream my eyes through the wall. Can't remember if we finished or not. An ex of mine curled and farted right in succession when we were nearly at the point of climax. She was absolutely mortified, but I thought it was the funniest thing ever at the time and it honestly just made me feel more comfortable with her. It was, however, very sad how bad she felt about it. She legitimately thought I would never want to touch her again simply for having natural bodily emissions. Honestly, it never fails to depress when I hear the kinds of things that partners think will make me less attracted to them. I remember she had like the loudest queef ever, and she was so embarrassed that I couldn't contain my laughter. Oh my god. I think I was crying of laughter. It wasn't the first time she had queefed during X. But this time it was so loud, oh boy, I felt so bad afterwards. She became a bit self-conscious because I was her first ever XL partner. So after the fact, I remember we sat down and talked about how it was natural and there was nothing wrong with it. I mean, she was my wife, so I obviously was supportive, but I'll never forget that loud ass queef. She was on her knees, face down on the bed, and I ate her out. That ducking fart blast that just stripped right up my nose gave me a good scare. Broke my wife's nose with my forehead. It's not so much the funniest, but the most embarrassing was seeing a guy who was just a super big fan of vaginas. Thought they were beautiful and all that crap. Midway it's really hot, so he stops to go open a window. I decide now is a perfect time to get in a seductive pose. So I'm on all fours, back arched. I got the response I wanted. He went back there to play around, and I guess released some trapped air, let me say. The air was aggressive. You ever see the gif of the cow with the wig on, and its hair is blowing majestically? That's what I imagined he looked like. I was sitting on his face for the first time while he ate me out, and I squirted without even realizing. Instant waterboard. I noticed he made a weird face and thought maybe I was smothering him too much. But instead he made a run for the bathroom to spit it all out. Killed the mood because we were laughing so hard, and now I joke to him about how he doesn't swallow. It was the first time we were gonna try anal. We were young and dumb, but at least we knew to use a condom. So he's coming at me doggy style and getting nowhere. He's thrusting, but my hole is not lubricated at all. It's painful and I'm not sure about any of it when I hear a loud pop. I scramble away and look back. Seems the condom exploded and there's pieces just hanging off his stick. I quick check my butt, but I'm okay. There's clearly a piece of condom missing, so we start looking. We found it. A piece had stuck to the ceiling. We laughed for years about that incident. We both farted at the exact same time. whilst maintaining eye contact. One time, my current and I were ducking doggy style. As most people know, this is notorious for queefs. Anyways, after about 5 minutes or so I pull out just a little too much and she queefs. NBD. I decided it'd be funny to reach under her and press up on her stomach. I unleashed the loudest queef I've ever heard in my life. And to top it off, she started laughing, and every single chuckle sent out a quiet queef. We ended up finishing after laughing for about 5 minutes. Love that girl. When I first started dating my girlfriend, I stepped on a bottle of lube, spraying it all over her wall, and then slipped on it. Fell on the floor. Then subsequently farted on impact. 2 seconds later the Canada Day fireworks went off in the harbor downtown. True story. I wish I could make that my signature move. Left the door open when nobody was home. When I was about to come, my dog ran into the room barking and tried to jump up onto the bed. Also once was at an ad band, the bed was making a lot of noises and mid-duck the headboard broke off and fell on top of us. One of the first times I ever had sex with my wife, I was trying to jack off on her face and I was using my spit as lube. She said, "You're getting spit on the face," but I heard spit on my face. So I did, and we both died of laughter. I don't know why, but we were laughing at something before we had sex and it just kept on popping inside our minds while we were having sex, so we ended up laughing while we were doing it until we finally stopped having sex, just so we could have a good laugh. In the end, we were too exhausted from laughing that we just fell asleep naked. My nickname for a while at my husband's job was Trooper, cause the first time we hooked up I was giving him a blowjob, and he gave me a heads up that he was about to come. What does my dumbass do? I gave him a thumbs up. He came and then began to laugh. Then he recounted the story to his work buddies and one said, "Ah, she's a real trooper then," and it stuck. Last time we saw this particular coworker at a bar, he greeted me as Trooper. Still. 3 years on. Ex-boyfriend had a daddy kink. During sex he asked me who he was. I'm the dumbest person on earth, so I responded with my boyfriend. He said no and asked again. Kyle. He said not quite. It then clicked in my head, and I broke out laughing during sex. Didn't mean to kink shame, but I stopped having sex just to laugh at him. Background. Earlier in the day, I had come across a Reddit thread about funny things to say as you come, and someone in there I had read the suggestion of 10 points to Gry Finder. So fast forward to later that night. My wife and I were going at it doggy style, and as I feel myself about to climax, I lean forward and whisper the before quote into her ear as I come. She punched me several times. I, however, was rolling with laughter the whole time. While my girlfriend at the time was giving me oral, she came up for a breath and proceeded to sneeze, propelling her head forward straight into my groin. I was nearing completion and was already pretty sensitive, so it hurt like you wouldn't believe. She laughed her ass off as I cradled my gooch, and we couldn't bring ourselves to finish. The night ended with us watching Netflix as I held an ice pack to my taint. Edit. Spelling. A horse put its head in through the car window and licked my butt as I was in the throes of passion with a lady. Mid-anal she decides she wants to 69. She gets off my stick and spins around to suck while I eat her out. And she must have relaxed too much, because she took a crap on my face. We are getting married next year. Luckily she found it hilarious, because I was mortified.